So I'm headed to the post office today because I have to drop off those orders that you guys just ordered off the website. So I do appreciate the support. I will definitely leave that link in the description below. But what truck should I take today? Well, the LMM is down. By the way, watch till the very end because I'm going to show you guys what progress we have going on. So stay tuned, we got a lot going on in there. Let's see here, the mighty L5P Duramax, the Denali HD, love that truck. Or maybe the 6.0 Powerstroke. We can't take the Cummins because, of course, we're still working on her. You know what? I haven't driven the LBZ in a while. Let's go ahead and fire her up. Sound of these trucks. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode on the channel, and today we're going to talk about the worst Duramax that you could possibly buy on the market. Stay tuned. So welcome back to the channel again. Today is going to be a very unpopular subject, and it's going to be what is the worst Duramax to buy? What is the worst Duramax possible to purchase? And I have two, and I know exactly what you're thinking. You're probably thinking I'm jumping right to the LB7 because let's be honest here, the LB7 has the worst injector issues. But you could be rest assured that the LB7 Duramax, the first generation Duramax, your 01s to 2004, you are safe in this one. Although, of course, it does have a lot of issues. And not to be biased here, but your LBZs, you are off the hook as well. But when I'm saying LBZs, LM whatevers, I know you're probably just shutting me out right now. You probably have no idea what I'm talking about. So let me explain this really quick. When I say LB7, for example, that is just a series, the model of the Duramax engine that I'm explaining. And these would be going in the 01s to 2004 GM trucks. And then jump into the second generation Duramax engine, you're going from a 2004.5 to a 2006. And then from a 2006 to a 2007, you do have the LBZ Duramax. 2007.5 to 2011 would be considered your LMMs, your 2012 to 2016 would be your LMLs, and then your 2017 plus would be considered the newer Duramax engine, which is the L5P. So if you're new to the channel, I do a lot of installs, reviews, parts, products, building awesome trucks. So if you guys enjoy the content and you want to support the journey, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the like button for me. I would really appreciate it. So let's go ahead and get into it. So I have done numerous YouTube videos on the Duramax versus the Cummins. I explained every single Duramax engine going from 2001 all the way up to 2019. I have done a lot of YouTube videos on this, but I never broke down what is the worst Duramax to actually own or purchase. If you have an opinion, a comment, a fact, definitely leave it in the description below. Please don't dislike the video because you disagree with me. I'm going based off facts here. So we've talked about the LB7, of course, is the #1 killer right there for any first-time Duramax owners. But realistically, if you were to just replace the injectors, put a air dog lift pump on it, and keep the fuel clean, most definitely those injectors will last a lot longer than you think. When installing injectors in those first generation Duramax engines, it's like brain surgery. You got to remove all kinds of parts. The injectors are buried under the valve covers. It is a complete nightmare. Let me know in the comments if you've done injectors on your own on an LB7 Duramax. I have a full how-to YouTube video on that. I'm sure you've probably seen it if you are a LB7 owner. But we can address all these issues, but that's really the only thing. If I can narrow it down, that's probably one of my favorite ones because you can really amp up the horsepower. One thing in particular that I love about the first generation Duramax is the fact that you can bury that thing in the sand and it'll still fire up. That series is legendary and I absolutely love them. Of all the diesel trucks that I own, the most powerful Duramax that I have actually sunk money into to really add some extra horsepower would be the LB7, and there's a reason for that. But I get this on my Instagram all the time. I get you guys asking these questions constantly. Hey Truckmaster, I'm looking at an LOY Duramax and it's clean, it has low miles on it. Should I buy it? Is it a good deal? What do you think? So not to dog on my Lily guys, my LOY guys, your 04.5 to 2006. By the way, they only made a few 2006 LOYs. Actually, let me just jump to this really quick. If you have a 2006 LOY, this does not apply to you because it's the same exact engine. It's just detuned from the factory as an LBZ Duramax, your 06 to your 2007. So if you own that truck, you are off the hook. It's actually kind of cool because it's sort of rare. So keep it, hold it true, keep it clean. But over the years of working on Duramaxes, I've learned that there's two Duramax series engines that are the worst. So don't hate me, guys. Don't unsubscribe. It's the LOY and the LML, and let me explain to you guys why. I have a lot of buddies, a lot of very close friends that own diesel shops, and their main complaint constantly, actually I used to work at a diesel performance shop, and I've seen this numerous times, LOIs coming into the shop for head gasket issues. The LOI Duramax was produced from 2004 to 2006 before it was eventually replaced by the LBZ. It was a stepping stone for GM as they begun to encounter stricter emissions requirements thanks to the federal government in California. Now don't get it twisted, guys, the LOI is very powerful and extremely capable for anything that you're trying to do and anything that you're trying to throw at it for a medium duty pickup truck. The LOI was very powerful and capable for the time, producing 310 horsepower and 605 foot-pounds of torque. It was mated with a 5-speed Allison transmission in years 2004 to 2005. These are one of the largest turbochargers found on any Duramax today. So really quickly, just to sort of address some of the LOI issues or problems with this truck right here, the second generation Duramax still has its fair share of problems, just like the LB7. The LOI trucks have been known for overheating issues. Factory design issues like a smaller radiator with less coolant capacity and restrictive airflow make these trucks run hot. So this is one of the biggest fixes to the LOI overheating issues, although it's a fix, but I still would highly recommend that if you have one, don't wait till you blow the head gaskets. Do the head studs off the bat. If you own an LOI Duramax, definitely do that. Biggest common issue for overheating would be the turbo mouthpiece. The inlet going to the actual turbo of the compressor housing is extremely small. Whoever engineered this mouthpiece was clearly not thinking. After the LOI, they addressed that issue and then they upgraded to, a lot bigger mouthpiece. These right here are extremely sought after nowadays. But as you guys can see there in the picture, the differences between the two. Definitely, if you own an LOI, it is extremely important that you pick up something like an S&B turbo mouthpiece or even an LBZ Duramax turbo mouthpiece. Just slap it on there. You should be good to go. But if your truck already has like 200,000 miles, yeah, it'll definitely help. But some of the damage has sort of already been done to that engine. And that's also another reason why we see a lot of these trucks coming into the shop. Paying somebody is extremely pricey. You're talking anywhere between $4,500 to $6,000 just to do head gaskets. It's crazy. But don't shoot me, guys. It's a proven fact. More 2004 to 2005 trucks come into the shop all the time for the same issue. If you just want a smooth running truck without doing any sort of upgrades whatsoever, especially if it's your first Duramax, definitely stay away from the LLY. It's probably not going to be very good on your bank account. I can open up a whole new can of worms when it comes to the Allison 5-speed. Definitely a solid transmission, but not capable of holding more than, I would say, 600 horsepower. So be extremely careful when you guys start using your EFI Live tuners without actually having sort of a trans safe tune. The Allison 5-speed transmission that's coupled to this Duramax engine, it's a very solid platform, but if you start tuning this engine and start putting more stuff on it without addressing the transmission, you're going to be constantly going into limp mode, and eventually you'll be demanding a rebuild on that transmission, which again is extremely expensive. I mean, if you're talking $4,500 to $6,000 for a head gasket job, and then you jump into a rebuild on an Allison 5-speed, which you're talking $5,000 to $6,000, you might as well just buy another truck. In my opinion, I'd rather install fresh injectors and a lift pump on an LB7 than have to deal with those head gaskets. It is just an absolute nightmare, and it's extremely expensive, and you really don't want to go down that route, especially for some of you guys that are using these trucks just to pull a camper or a boat. Like I said, every generation engine has their issues. We're not trying to pick on you LOI guys. That's not what I'm trying to do. I personally think that the LOI is absolutely awesome. I mean, it's really an upgrade from the LB7 with the injectors buried in the valve covers to now being easily able to access those things when you end up replacing them. So more fun, more upgrades. And as stated before, bigger turbocharger. I know a lot of buddies, I have some really close friends that have some very high horsepower LOI Duramaxes, and they absolutely love them. They're very true to that, seriously. Knowing what I know about Duramax engines, working on them all the time, would I personally own an LOI? Yes, absolutely. And also, my hobby is Duramaxes. Some of you guys like four-wheelers, super soakers, hunting, whatever, it's a very expensive thing. You guys know that. It's a very expensive hobby. So with my budget, upgrading an LOI, I would love to do something like that. Hopefully I can get one here on the channel. Now moving along, one more generation I'd like to address is your LMLs. Now don't get me wrong guys, the LML is an absolute animal. It hasn't happened yet, but I would absolutely love to own an LML. But let's beat up our LML guys really quick, shall we? So if you're one of those that own an LML 2011 to 2016 Duramax and haven't yet experienced a major fuel pump failure, you're likely living on borrowed time. If it hasn't been fixed, it is likely going to occur in the near future. This is frustrating, isn't it? You have this nice fancy truck, it's newer looking, you have all the amenities, the creature comforts, and then you have that nice powerful Duramax engine under the hood, and you have to worry about this failure with the injection pump. So this generation Duramax suffers from a high pressure fuel pump issue unique to this year range model. Failure of this CP4 pump is usually catastrophic, causing metal particulates to contaminate the entire fuel system. If you own one of these particular trucks, it's likely that you're well aware of this problem. But why does it fail? The short answer is lack of lubricity. The lack of volume creates a lack of lubrication since these pumps rely on the diesel fuel to act as a lubricant. Like I said, this can be extremely frustrating for such a nice vehicle, but the biggest problems that we are having with these LML Duramax engines is that CP4 to just completely explode, grenade, and send shards of metal into your fuel injection system. Now, once that actually happens, this is where it gets extremely expensive. I mean, we're talking about a high pressure common rail diesel injection system. You have to replace the fuel rails, the fuel injection lines, as well as the fuel injectors. Essentially, anything that the fuel touches, you'll end up having to replace. Guys, I have seen bills as close as $10,000 for all injection lines, everything, the works plus labor. It is not pretty, and it's a monster job. You have to tear everything off from the top of the engine just to get into the valley in front of the engine to remove that thing. So there's a lot of labor involved, and it is just a complete nightmare. There's a lot of fixes to that. Of course, the CP3 conversion kits, which I would highly recommend if you own an LML to definitely buy one. Definitely get them before they do, if you know what I mean. There's a lot of CP4 savers that definitely help, and then of course, get a lift pump. That's the biggest thing for those. It's almost like going all the way back to the first generation Duramax. They're kind of going backwards. If you were to ask me what's the first upgrade to do on any one of these diesel trucks, no matter if it's a Cummins or a Powerstroke as well, get a lift pump, and I would recommend an AirDog. I would not go FASS. My personal preference on that one, I'll leave that there. Now I run a FASS on my LBZ, but I'll just install different filters. Working in diesel shops, around diesel shops, and having buddies that own them and working on these for multiple years, I know a lot of the strengths and I know a lot of the weaknesses. I know I'm missing a whole bunch of other extra stuff. Let's not even talk about the garbage emission systems on these LMLs. And okay, I'm just gonna stop ranting on that one. We're gonna talk about the biggest issue right here, which would be the CP4 failure. If you have one of these generation diesel trucks, only replace it before the CP4 explodes and you have all these other issues. I narrowed it down to 2 generations that I would not recommend purchasing off the bat. But don't get me wrong, the LOY and the LML are more than capable of doing exactly what you're trying to do, like I stated in the beginning of this video. They're absolute beasts, and if you wanted to throw some stupid power to these things, with of course, how deep your pockets go, just like anything, you can definitely do it with these platforms. But I have love for every one of these generation Duramaxes. They all have their issues, they all have their problems. So that leads me to my very next thing. Would you, depending on your financial situation, either own a LOY Duramax, the iconic classic body style of its day, with, of course, the overheating issues that we addressed here in the beginning of this video, or B, would you own an LML Duramax? And then not to mention the increase in horsepower is just a lot better than the LOYs. Those things can pull a house. But yeah, I get it. I could beat on the LBZ guys. I could beat on the LMM guys, the L5P guys for sure. We can address some stuff there, as well as I kind of beat on the LB7 guys, but I own all these trucks. Never thought I'd ever make a YouTube video like this because I feel like it's going to cause a lot of drama and controversy. But keep the dialogue open in the comments. Let me know what I missed, skipped, beat up some of those other generations in the comments. Definitely let me know if you agree with me or disagree with me. I want to hear all of that. Okay guys, so now that we're done doing that, we beat the dead horse enough. Let's talk about this LMM and some of the upgrades that we've already done to this thing. But I got to say, I probably have about 40 hours in this truck already, and a lot of it's just from just detailing it, making the engine nice and clean. But we just installed the Ryan's Diesel Service 64mm charger right there. Isn't she a beaut? Did install the HSP YBridge, the 2-piece YBridge as well. One thing that I did do is I removed the stock core turbo, which is right there. You know as well as I do, it's so tricky to get right down in there, but I mean, I've done it so many times I could probably do it with my eyes closed nowadays. It's kind of sickening. But I let this engine soak in degreaser and I power washed it. I mean toothbrush, all kinds of stuff, but we really made it nice. I did use high temp paint. It's a rattle can, but it holds up to 500 degrees Fahrenheit. But I cleaned all the injection lines, all the hard lines. I do plan on finishing up the wiring loom as well. I took a lot of the old wiring, like a lot of this stuff right here, I'm still working on. But I just want to make it look nice and presentable. Check this out, guys. I did install the HSP valve covers. I will be doing a how-to video on these actually. Make sure you check out my other YouTube channel, and it's nothing but installs. I sort of went back to the basics on when I first started this YouTube channel on installs, so it's called Truckmaster Garage. think I only have like 4 YouTube videos posted, but it's all how-to stuff, and a lot of it's coming from this vehicle right here. So make sure you subscribe and check it out. I figured that channel would benefit you guys because I know that I don't do a lot of those install videos anymore, so we're gonna go ahead and use that other channel for that. This is so exciting. I just installed the HSP manifolds. Man, aren't those beautiful. I did order the full package, so I also got the up pipes as well for these, but this is a one direct shot versus, for example, this is the driver's side. You see that restrictive pinch right there? That pinch is for the steering shaft on the driver's side, but you hearing that loud, just crazy annoying whoosh noise coming from the engine when you get on it, more than likely it's coming from that pinch right there as well as your downpipe. And you guys can see how flat that is. I gotta say, I've been pretty busy lately, but we're almost done. I'm gonna install the cold side. Once I button everything up, which should be probably here in the next couple days, I'll get this video out to you. But we're gonna do another 0 to 60 test with the bigger turbo. I wanna do a before and after test. I think it'll be very interesting. But that's it for this video today. I love you guys. Make sure you guys don't kill me in the comments, but keep it respectful. But let me know what you personally think about the LMLs and the LOY Duramax. And am I kind of on target here? I think I am. From all the trucks that I've worked on, what's been coming in the shop the most, that's what I'm seeing. So I definitely had to dig deeper onto why. So load up those comments, that'd be very helpful. Smash that like button, hit the subscribe button if this channel is helpful. I appreciate your time as always. We'll see you on the next video. Stay tuned.